You are listening to the USDN on the DFPN.
It's a trap!
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the United States Department of Nerds, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people. The human body has always had its limits, but what happens when technology gives us the power to replace them? When flesh can be augmented, damaged bodies rebuilt, and the line between human and machine begins to disappear. The question is no longer what technology can do. It's what remains of us when it does. For more than a decade, Australian creator SK has been telling stories through independent comics, building a body of work that has earned industry recognition and found its way into library shelves around the world. And with Transhuman, Stephen takes us into a science fiction world built around augmentation, identity, consequences, and one deceptively difficult question: what does it actually mean to be human? Now, I think it's Rivka.
Yes, Rivka, yeah.
Boom. Her story continues with Transhuman, Volume 4, Betrayal, as Stephen and artist Razz push the series into its next chapter and open the door for new readers to experience the journey from beginning through a brand new Kickstarter campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, the Council of Nerds is now in session. SK, my friend, welcome to the USDN.
What an intro. Thank you so much, Chairman. It's really great to be here.
Dude, we've had you on the schedule for a while now, as everybody right now is waiting anywhere from 30 to 90 days to come on the podcast, which is a great place for me to be in. And I'm always excited when I finally get to interview these creators. And you were a bit of a surprise, man. You gave me some stuff to everything I needed to build this interview for us. But then I deep dived you, and you were throwing me surprises left and right. A Ringo nominee, Aaliyah awards, you name it, you have it. And I was just like, this dude's a sleeper agent on me.
Oh, look, I always, awards are nice, and I really have to admit it. But the main thing is to tell the story. I don't write the stories for awards, as you probably can imagine. It's always, and look, as you probably realize, I actually do work for a whole bunch of different publishers as letterers, editors, that type of thing. But the one thing I do like about, say, the indie crowdfunding spaces, it lets me tell stories, and that usually is very difficult. Like, comics are a niche of a niche. If you think about the art world, we are a niche of a niche already. And then you go, okay, you have stories within comics which are much more mainstream. For example, I'll give you one of the best-selling graphic novels out there. It's The Babysitter's Club from Scholastic. It's one of the the biggest ones. So, or Dogman, or those type of books. Yeah. And then you've got all your superheroes, and then you've got your the big mangas. You're talking like the free runs, and then then you get to tell. So I'm now telling a niche of a niche of a niche, and I get to tell all these really cool stories. And that's why a lot of people move into independent publishing. It's because we get to tell these stories. Yeah. It's like a lot of these stories, I think, will be missed because it's very hard to consider them, very hard for publishers to pick up certain stories. And and there's a whole bunch of reasons, and it's 99%. It's never personal, and it's never the story. It's businesses.
It's hard to be discovered.
How much money can we make out of it? Or if at the time, is there a zombie in it? If you go back about 10, 15 years, if you had a zombie in it, oh man, your pitch was sparkling. Not so much now anymore, but back 10, 15 years ago, you needed a zombie in your story. It doesn't matter. And that's what publishers were looking for. So they do go through different phases of what they're looking for. So, but like I said, thank you so much for the thing. But I do it to tell the story. And sometimes if the story gets loved, that makes me happy. And that's
I think that's it for all of us, right? If what we do at the end of the day brings happiness to not only others, but to ourselves, it's all the more reason to do it. But Stephen, for you, for anyone discovering your work for the first time tonight, give us your quick story of who you are and kind of how you found your way into creating independent comics.
So what happened was I had a kid, and it's probably the best story you'll get. Look, like most of us, I would imagine, yourself included, Chairman. I know we had a quick chat about this.
Yeah, I got a junior in college, so yeah.
Oh, my kiddo's in high school talking back. So,
and it don't change.
Yeah. So, but before that is everybody tends, as if most comic readers tends to have a story in them. And it's just something they want to tell. And like I said, it's a niche of, like my first story, the first book I ever got published was Tabby, Romeo and Juliet with cats. Tabby.
Yeah, Tabby, back in 2015.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet with cats.
Which is cool. I love cats. I'm a cat guy.
Yeah. And it actually but the whole point is it lets me, if you can imagine me pitching that to Marvel or DC, nobody's going to touch that. But the point about it was, before I got my little girl, it was a case of, I'll write the story. I'll do it. And you just procrastinate. And I'll freely admit, I'm one of those guys who goes, you know what, it'll get done. And then I suppose it's one of those things where you go, you know what, if I don't do it and when she's 18 or 21 and she goes, oh, what did you want to do? Oh, I want to write the story. Where's the story? And you never did it. Yeah. It's really hard then for you to go to your kiddo and say, hey, look, to follow your dreams, you need to work hard, we'll support you, we'll do that. But you need to put the hard work in if you yourself don't do it. So for me, it was one of those light bulb moments to go, you know what, I've got to write the damn thing. Because a lot of the ideas in your head, but when you actually put it, and this is what I usually advise young writers, young creators, and whenever I had a chance to chat to them, is there is a huge power when you that changes everything when you actually write it down, because when it's in your head it's perfect, you got the scene, it's action or whatever, but when you write it down for the first time on your first draft, it is rubbish, it's utter rubbish. And it's not a bad thing,
it's really not, but you wrote it down, and that's the important part, is that you put the pen to the paper.
Correct. So in your head it's this fantastic story with human emotion, beats, people cry. And when you write it down, it's like, oh my God, this is such rubbish. But the good thing about that is it's the draft, because what people don't realize is your first draft, it's garbage. I'll call it out. Like everybody's first draft is garbage. I'll let you read some outlines before and you just go, whoa, that's bad. But what it lets you to do, it lets you do a second draft and a third draft. And honestly, that's where the hard work is, to be able to take something.
It also reminds you that you need an editor.
Exactly. But this is pre-edited. This is before you get to the editor phase. This is even to get it to some semblance. It's I like the Simpsons quote. The boy can't read good. When Homer can't talk, and that's how your first script looks. It's like, that's not a sentence. Nobody's. And by the time you polish it, even before the editor, that's where the hard work really is. And that's what a lot of people want to avoid, because you've got this perfect script, the perfect story, the perfect one in your head, and it's not perfect when you put it down to paper. but it exists. And then so for me, I went through that entire process. I deleted a lot of stuff. I redid a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to freely admit, I look back at my earlier stuff, even stuff that got picked up for publication, got published and stuff like that. I look back at some of that and I cringe. I cannot read my own work. I'm also a letterer, as you probably know.
Mm-hmm.
My first few lettering things I did, my first few jobs, my first few gigs and whatever, I look at it and go, oh my God, mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But in my headspace, I'm going, but if I never did it, I would never learn and I would never make said mistakes. So I got the first story out, and then the second story after, they made another story after that. And it kind of snowballs after that. And if you probably know the comic world community, it's a wonderful place, because as you start reaching out, and like me reaching out to you, and you
Mm-hmm.
probably go to different conventions and stuff like that, you start to see a lot of like-minded people, and it builds. So I thought I would be a one and done, one story,
Yeah.
tick in the box, move on with your life. But second story came, third story came. In Australia, I don't know, I think it's similar to the US. They have different government grants for,
So
especially,
I don't know if we have them per se for like the creative arts, like comic books, but I do know that Canada has a lot of stuff like that, because I got friends of mine that live up there. They've been on the show before, and they're constantly applying for these grants to make their work.
correct. In Australia, there's actually a crowdfunding based grant. So what
That's
happens
really
is,
cool.
there's two types of grants you get in Australia. One of them is to build an artistic endeavor. So like, say you have a project, you want to paint the Mona Lisa. As an example, you need 6 months to do it. You say to them, I'm so and so, I want to paint the Mona Lisa for 6 months. I need to live and I need to eat. And if they deem your project is worthwhile, they'll
Mm-hmm.
go, well, 6 months, don't worry about food, whatever, we'll take care of you. Make the Mona Lisa for
That's
us.
really cool. I wish we did stuff like that, but we do not do that here.
Oh, it honestly helps, like, huge amount. The other type of grant is and this is the ones I also really like, and I think it's very smart, is the business based grants. So it's like, most artists don't understand business
Mm-hmm.
properly. They want to create and totally understand. So what they do is they said, look, we understand crowdfunding and Kickstarter and that type of thing is becoming very prevalent. So what they'll do is they'll run courses where they'll teach you certain things. And at the end of the course, what they'll do is, for the grant is, and it's called Match Lab, if anyone wants to look it up in Australia. You apply for it, and at the end of the grant, you run your campaign, and the government will match it dollar for dollar. So if you raise one
Oh,
dollar,
nice.
government will kick in $1. The amounts change. I think there's up right now. I think it's up to $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
They'll kick in. I actually went on that grant a long while ago. So I was actually more than 10 years ago. And I remember they actually had professional fundraisers talk to us. And you're talking like, we talk, oh, we raised 10K, oh, happy days, right? There are people who work for, say, the ballet, or work
Mm-hmm.
for like certain key industry. When the ballet goes to a big bank to ask for money, they're not asking for 10,000, they're asking for 10 million,
Yeah.
like, to be a patron to the arts. And having those type of insights, because as part of the grant, there's also you have to learn, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. It's not a case
You
of,
know, that's great that they're not just giving you the money. They're like, you're going to earn the money, and this is how you're going to earn this money.
and we're going to give you the steps to learn it as well. So they said, look, you're all going to turn up to this course, and in this course you will have the Australian Ballet fundraiser person there, and to hear how they do it, like, again, like, talking
Mm-hmm.
about the millions of dollars of patronage and stuff like that, to the arts. It's such a lit experience. And then they're going as well how to structure your business, because it is a bit, if you want to do it, it is a business, and it's fantastic. So I was lucky in the earlier stages to get a couple of those that really boosted the
Yeah.
career going. And it allowed me to learn not just the creative side of things, but also to learn the business side of things, and it snowballed. And I was then approached by different people, say, "Hey, would you do this job for me? This job?" And it look. A lot of serendipity, lucky, right place, right time things. But oh my God,
But it's cool though that they take care of you and they make sure, like if that's a path you want to go down, that they give you and help build those tools for you to put in your tool chest to use when you need them.
Exactly, and I do my best to give back. So I have lost count on the number of people who have hit me up going, "Can you tell me how do you start lettering, or how do you start doing things?" And I always make it a point to say, if you're really interested, happy to talk to you. Just note, this is my number I always give out. You probably need to letter about 5,000 pages.
Yeah.
Before I would even consider you to be a beginner. It's that number, because the first 1,000 pages you're gonna waffle. You're learning the tools. The next 2,000 pages you're developing a style, and then you know what I mean. It takes I think the number is 10,000 hours to be good at something. To really be good at something, 10,000 hours for any craft. 10,000 hours.
Did you ever see Knockaround Guys?
No, I haven't. What's that?
So Vin Diesel, right? I think it's Knockaround Guys, and Vin Diesel's like the enforcer or whatever. And he gets in, like, his friend is being picked on, and he walks in, and he just says, like, I think it was like some weird number, like 500, for instance.
Yep.
They're like, well, what's 500? He's like, 500. That's the number of fights you have to get into to be a knockaround guy. And then proceeds like to whoop everybody's ass, you know. But that when you said that, like 10,000, I was like, oh, he's gonna pull the knockaround guys joke.
Oh no, the numbers are, it's out there. Like and so for me, when I started doing anything like the writing, the lettering, or whatever, I always had that in my mind that my first batch of stuff will be utter rubbish, utter garbage, and it's actually, I would say, especially for people who want to go down this pathway, is not to get too discouraged, and not to, like, again, I'll say to you before, I have received so many no's, and it's and you're looking for the one yes, and you will get the yes every once in a while, and it makes it worthwhile, because you will forget the no, obsession quote. But
and that's how I ended up here right now. Is I put a random post out on social media. It's like, hey, if you're a creator, I have a podcast, I would love to talk to you. And then it kind of just was like, one person was like, hey, yeah, I have a project starting, like, let's do it. And I was like, I didn't know a damn thing about what I was doing at the time. And I put together like a half-ass interview. I did some half-ass social media stuff. And like, I mean, granted, I've come a long way since then, but I just needed that one person to kind of help, like, guide me into like this, and them need to go, I really like this. This is where it's fun. I'm talking to creators who may or may not, be big in the the grand scheme of comic books, but in indie comics, for this 1 hour, 2 hours that they're on this show, they're going to be that rock star for the time they're on this show.
And the other thing would be is, and I would imagine, it's sharing people experiences. Like when I know we were talking a little bit off air, it's really, really good to hear other people's stories, and not their creative stories, but their own personal stories. So it's been an interesting road. I've been,
and that's what I love about this, is I get to tell those stories.
Yeah, I know. And so I've been invited to different conventions at different places. If anybody does want to hit me up, I am SK on Facebook. Do look me up, and more than happy to, especially if you're a new creator, to help you take you on the journey as well. Because I've been really lucky. A lot of it has been different people at different times who go, hey, we'll help you. I'll shout out one particular person. Her name is Karen Duarte. So she was a librarian in an area near me. She picked up Tabby and she loved it. That was my Romeo and Juliet with Kat's story.
So she absolutely. Speaking of Tabby, though, that came out in 2015. when you look at who you were in 2015 as that creator who produced Tabby, you look at yourself today getting ready to release Transhuman Volume 4. What has changed the most in the way you approach making the comics that you're making?
In terms of the actual creative process and stuff like that, it's still the same. It's an absolute mess. Like
that's just creators as in general. We're messes.
Absolutely. It's like, but the one thing that I have nailed down a lot, and it's a learning experience, is a lot of the business and logistics behind it. Like especially around a Kickstarter, you will tend to get a little bit overwhelmed. Like I remember the first time I had to ship off about 50 packages. I had to, people who bought from me, and you get paralysis. It's like, oh gosh, how do I do it? Do I buy labels? Do I write it by hand? And it is very overwhelming. But that aspect of it actually does go away. I think with the Transhuman 3, I had to ship close to 500 different packages. But the whole point is I actually have things set up now. I've got
in place to...
Correct. I've got a long table. I've got an assembly line. I've got, I buy, they don't have Gemini mail list in Australia, but there's something equivalent. I've got a stack of that equivalent, like 500-600 of them in boxes all set up. And you do learn that part of it. And so that part of it is a lot less stressful now than 2015 me. But the creative part of it, which is why a lot of us go down this crazy journeys to tell stories, that's still all messy. It's like the way I tend to do stuff is I tend to do outlines and link it out afterwards. But then when you do your outline, you're going, wait, but that doesn't make sense because he will say that after this, and then that was going to happen. And it's an absolute mess, and my editor hates me for it, but that's why it works, because I would say is if it gets too structured, it takes the fun out of why you're doing it. Like I said, there are projects I work on for hire projects where it is very structured. It is this, and you get paid, you do as you're told, which is absolutely fine. But when you do it yourself, that's where the fun comes. I find it a lot more fun to work on my own project than to work for, and to be fair, to play in other people's spaces as well. Like I've got projects where they say, hey, look, this is my character. Go write me a short story. Or go write me what happens. And you have to take a lot of input for it. Sometimes restriction actually makes it fun as well, because you can't go totally crazy. You got to stick to their vision. But there's the most amount of fun is when you're in your own head, your own universe, your own characters.
I got notebooks upon notebooks of just, and we were talking beforehand about some of the stuff that I'm working on behind the scenes. And right now, all those ideas and characters and just parts of a story I want to explore are just in a random, the working titles are written on the front of the notebook, so I won't get them confused. But I'm pretty sure I have notes from each story in each other's notebooks. And it's just oh, I like this part of a story. I'll wake up and I'm like, oh, let me write that down real quick. Or I'll be at work and I'll shoot myself an email. I'll keep an email up at work and I just write notes in there. And then I'll send it to myself at the end of the day, so I have it.
If you should do what I do is I used it doesn't really matter what you need to do. There's people use different notes-based programs, the one that syncs to everything. I live off that notes-based program because whenever I get to something,
I wish I could do that, but at my work I can't do that. So email is, I just keep a blank email, and then if I'm sitting there or somebody will say something to me, and I'm like, ooh, type it up real quick, and then at the end of each day, I just send that to myself, and I do interviews that way too. I'll be sitting there at work, and I'm like, ooh, I want to ask them about this, and I'll just type that in real quick, and so I'll break it down into segments. So my comics I'm working on, interviews I'm working on, or just a social media thing I want to do, and I just type it in this email, and then every Friday or every day when I leave, I just hit send.
That's a good idea, because But that's the part of the really fun creative process. I have to freely admit. Again, it's also working on other people's property, also fun. But that's the most amount of fun you're gonna get. And one of the things which again, to inspire a lot of creators and to hopefully inspire yourself, is once you actually hold that physical product, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And I've said this to everybody.
Dude, I already know. Like, I can't. I will cry. I will cry like a little baby with the moment I have my own book in my own hands.
It's hard to describe. And you know what's the best thing about it? It doesn't go away. So volume two feels different, but it's still the feeling is still there. And I've received I've got copies of stuff I worked on. It every time I receive that package from wherever, from a publisher or whatever, you open it and you see your copies in there. It's hard to describe unless you've got it, you've done it. Yeah. But it's worth doing all that just for that 10 seconds of opening that box and going, that's mine. I did that.
I already know. But let's dive into your IP real quick, and let's talk about Transhuman. And for anybody discovering Transhuman tonight for the very first time, who is Rivka? And kind of like, what kind of world are we stepping into with her? I mean, you're on volume 4, so she's been around for a while now.
Yeah. Look, so with Rivka, the initial concept of transhumanism is basically replacing body parts.
Yeah.
So if you lose an arm, you get a new artificial arm. But the concept about my initial thought about it is, what happens if you really push the envelope and you start going, you know what, if you lose an eye, how about we give you an eye which has night vision in it? Or what if you replace a hand, what if we give you a hand that can crush, bricks or whatever? Or instead of, we'll give you gills and all the really fun stuff that you're going, wait, you're not just doing like for like replacements, you're doing weird and wonderful things.
Yeah, you're modifying it at that point.
Yep. So the initial story is really Rivka was assigned as a bodyguard to a scientist, and there's a lot of religious backlash against transhumanism because they're saying, hey, you're changing God's plan and things like that. The one thing I'm actually really cognizant of when I was writing the first volume of Transhuman is not to take sides, because the stories I absolutely always love is stories where it just where you just present a worldview from both sides and have the audience take one view of the other. And that's the approach I took, because I want to make sure that and I'll show you some of the comments I've received. It's like, you didn't take sides, did you? But no, I don't want to take sides.
Yeah.
But Rivka is that human component of this whole argument, because she's an ex-soldier. Unfortunately, she just her arm, an arm and eye and a ear during an explosion, and she's like the personification of what happens afterwards. But you think that she's this elite fighting killing machine or whatever, but she's messed up. Like, she's going through a divorce. She blames herself for her kids. She has a daughter who unfortunately passed away. But the daughter, and this gets back into the whole discussion, the daughter passed away because of a genetic disease. So she blames herself as the carrier. And then it's like, what could I have done to save her? And saying, but I caused all this. So there's a whole bunch of this tapestry being wove together. And then it explores her trying to figure it all out. And one of the aspects I did about Rivka was that as far as personality goes, you need to give characters a lot of personality. Is she would be happy to run into a firefight to get you out of a tough situation, that type of thing. You want to talk about she wants to have to confront her feelings? Nah, she's so fast out of there.
Dude, we're all that way.
Yeah. And so that's the whole dichotomy of her too, that, you know what I mean? There's a fight to have. She's there. You need to talk about your feelings. I think I'll just bugger off.
Yeah.
And so that's her dichotomy. And as the story progresses, she does change. She regresses. She changes. She's back again. Look, Volume 4 is the penultimate one, so it will end in Volume 5, so it will end. But what I try to do is, like the first story, Volume 1, I did craft it in a way that if you never read beyond Volume 1, it's still a full story. But I really hope that you enjoyed it so much that you come back for Volume 2 and 3. And I've been really lucky that people have been coming back to it. So, but in terms of stories, like Rivka, I think Volume 2, or don't quote me on this, was actually picked up by the Australian Library Association. Yep. So for there's 3 categories of like kids, teens, and adults. So it's an adult, more mature book. A lot of it is in the themes behind it. But so you got picked up for the award for that category. So I was lucky enough to do that, and I was lucky enough that a lot of different libraries have enjoyed it. So
5,000 of them, dude.
Oh no, not 500. So 500,
500. Still, that's impressive for an indie comic book. But so let's keep talking about this. So, what originally kind of made you want to explore, like, the transhumanism in this series? Like was there like a movie you saw? Was there like just something had to trigger this? I mean,
I'm a
Star Wars.
I do love Star Wars, but I am a sci-fi nut, and not just sci-fi. I'm actually of a lot of practical science. Like I actually subscribe to different feeds where they just tell me when new stuff got invented. Like for example, I think it was a couple of years ago, artificial chlorophyll got invented. So for space travel, one of the issues that you have is you couldn't resynthesize carbon dioxide, because you've got to think about it. You have space shuttle, and everything you have is in that space shuttle. It's your own whole ecosystem. And to waste energy to change it back doesn't make sense. And plants don't like to live in space because there's no gravity. They do a lot of experiments for it. So they actually invented artificial chlorophyll, which is basically, and what the original case study for this was, in bus stops, they're going to put the artificial chlorophyll on top of the bus stop, or in an area where it's outside. So when sunlight hits it, the artificial chlorophyll reacts and it releases oxygen around that area. So it's like almost a fake tree.
Dude, that's so cool.
Anyway, so like I love all these things when it all happens, all this little science can happen, and there's a million of them. So if you ever want to see all the cool stuff that's out there, there's so many good feeds. I would say go to Reddit.
Reddit. Make yourself a GitHub that feeds you all that stuff. That's what I do.
I love it. But what it really started is a lot of the. I remember reading an article just about how they're going to replace the human eye, and they were just talking that when you replace the human eye, you can actually give it more colors than your brain has receptors for, because your brain has 3 receptors. But that's only because your brain was designed that way. You could design your brain to have 4 receptors, like 5 colors, 6 colors, and you can start seeing things that you could never see before. Or you let your brain be able to process ultraviolet, and or color ranges that you never seen, that your current eyes can't see. And then they'll go, wow, and then you just take that as an extension and go, well, what else can you do? And then that started the journey down there. We're going, you're starting to make humans do things that you naturally can't. And I loved it. I absolutely loved that concept behind it. And then I wanted the conflict to go, just because we can, does it mean we should?
Which is a great segue, actually, to my very next question. So science fiction often asks whether technology will save humanity or destroy it. But Transhuman seems much more interested in what happens fundamentally when flawed human beings gain access to increasingly powerful technology. Was avoiding that simple good versus evil relationship with technology important to you in the series?
100%. And the other thing would be is technology itself is neither good nor bad. I always think it is.
It's the hands that hold it, right?
Correct. So a lot of the concepts behind a lot of things that happen in it is, hey, what can we do? So there's, for example, there is people who traffic transhuman augmented limbs, for example, as weapons. So that's the whole segment behind it, and their whole purpose is money. They and then there's people who believe in the conflict, that believe in certain things, and people who don't, and they're going, you know what, it's a weapon. I'm selling it like I sell a gun type thing. So there's a lot of all those concepts that come behind it of, just because it's technology doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's good. It's how it applies. And then you can kind of see it doesn't make it sometimes doesn't make people's life easier. It actually makes it worse. I just want to explore a lot of that. Saying that though as well, it's also a really good action story.
Yeah.
There's lots of she's an ex-soldier, so she does go on some really kick-ass missions. I love also setting up some really cool action set pieces. It's a lot of fun that way. So I when I do tend to write stories, it tends to be you can just read it as a really cool action, once through it, or you can take the time to go, hey, I didn't think about that way. And I like it to, I like to try to do the Pixar, and I like the Pixar concept that a kid will see a Pixar movie one way, an adult will see a Pixar movie a totally different way.
So I have a philosophical question for you, though, to follow this up. So if eventually every physical part of Rivka could be replaced while her memories, her personality, her experience remain intact, is she still that same person? And at what point, if any, would you say she stops being human?
That's a really good question. Have you seen one show called The Digital Circus? It's very recent.
I have not. Is it on Netflix or Hulu?
It's on Netflix.
Okay, perfect. I'll check it out.
I will again. I'll put the usual. I will
Spoiler.
talk about Digital Circus for the next 5 minutes. If you want to see it or you haven't seen it, next 5 minutes.
I will watch it no matter what. But if you want to give us the synopsis real quick, then by all means.
It's an artificial world where basically some people have scanned their brains. They've gone through a brain scan to preserve themselves. So they're still living in the real world. They're still happy in the real world, nothing's changed, but they just went through an experiment to be brain scanned. And so then what happened is...
so it's like a reverse matrix, right? Where instead of being unplugged, you're being plugged in.
Yep. So they once their brain has been scanned, so you've got all the zeros and ones from your head. These people just live their normal lives. And the normal people who got their brain scanned, it doesn't affect them. They just go back to normal lives. But these brain scans are then put into an artificial world. So these brain scans, they think they are stuck in this artificial world, but do they exist? Are they real? Do they not exist? They still have all the personalities and all the, they're still that person who's outside the real world, but they are stuck in this digital world. And, I mean,
so it's kind of like that movie that Ewan McGregor, Scarlett Johansson, where they were like...
The Island, I think.
Where they were just like raised in... There's humans on this island just
they're raised as body parts type thing.
As body parts, yeah.
Exactly. So they're stuck in this thing, and then you're just going. So are the brain scans who are sentient? Are they worthy of life? Are they really human? Or because they've been. So
it makes you think, man.
The question with Rivka is, look, she doesn't get fully replaced, which is good. But it's still, I think, in the end, I always say it's Rivka's story, because in the end, she does hopefully, and without too much spoilers, I do want her to find some sort of peace in the end, because the problem isn't with the science. The problem is with her own life. She blames herself for a whole stack of things. She can't commit. There's a whole bunch of stuff within her that she's messed up, and she knows she's messed up. So a lot of it is then she needs to solve a lot of the problems inside her before, and that's something that, an artificial arm, leg, whatever, doesn't fix.
Which, that's a great way to lead into volume 4 that we're about to talk about, Betrayal. And so the fourth volume, of course, of Transhuman is called Betrayal. Without spoiling the journey for somebody discovering the series, how has Rivka changed from the person we meet in Volume 1 until what we're going to see her as in Volume 4?
So Volume 4 is actually the fun one.
Your mic is currently rubbing your temper. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So Volume 4 is the fun one because initially when she's a soldier, she leaves. She leaves to work in private industry. And then what happens after in Volume 4, she actually comes back because they've convinced her to come back, and something happens that actually there is a betrayal. Like this story, the title does give it away a little bit, but the whole concept, she comes back, she's leading a squad again, she's kick ass, she's doing all the leading missions, but then when she gets betrayed, it really sets her off again, and it leads her down a spiral of how do I get out of it, because her life's on the line. It's not a simple I forgot to pick you up for the airport betrayal. It's one of those I could have died betrayal.
It's deep. Yeah.
So a lot of it is all linked up to that. So that's one thing I love about writing stories around characters is it's the journey is never I'm better, and by the end of the story, I'm the best version of me. The best stories are I take 2 steps forward, I fall a few steps back.
Yeah.
Take another few steps forward, I fall back again. It's that constant moving forward and then back, moving forward and then back. I think that makes the best stories because
I like characters that, like, when a story ends and the character is just kind of like that happy point in their life where they can say, I'm happy. Is their life better? Maybe, maybe not. But is their life worse? Not really. But they find that good happy spot in their life where they can just sit down on the front porch, have a glass of tea, and just go, okay, I think I'm good where I'm at right now.
But that's why I love there's actually one story I wrote which hasn't been published yet, but we've got probably halfway through production where actually I killed off one of the characters. And the editor who has been working with me all the time says, if she stays dead, I quit. And I have to say, it's
what
really
the fuck?
She says,
you better bring him back.
I did, because I like it was that.
You don't want to lose an editor over that.
It was that emotional for her to go, you can't kill her. I'm going, yeah, but you can see I'm actually leading up to it. I told you, but she's going, but oh, by the way, if there is a term, if you want to make somebody cry in a comic, it's actually or book or whatever, it's really easy. Have somebody die unfulfilled. That's the absolute way to really, really mess people up. Is if people invest in a person to go, okay, this person he's going to live the dream. He's going to ride in the Tour de France. He's been riding his bicycle. He's practicing. He gets the call up to go to France to make it. He rides home to celebrate. He gets hit by a truck and dies.
Yeah.
That's the most messed up you can do to anybody, because they've invested and they actually want to see the guy make the Tour de France, and you kill him before, and it's like, that's story writing. That's the most horrible thing a writer can do to you, by the way. It's the absolute pinnacle of...
I'd rather you kick me in my knee. Kick me in my knee. Yeah. I'd rather you have me do that.
But so you got stories, but that's how the editor so high did that story, where I killed off that character, and I left a lot of her story unfulfilled because I actually wanted another character to fulfill it for her. And the editor was going, you can't do that. No way in hell. I don't want to see character B take on the legacy of character A. No. She gets back. So what happened? She magically survives the fall. She's messed up, broken bones and all the rest of it, but she's there, that she's alive, and I love it. I love how some people get so invested.
And that was your editor, of all people, to be invested in that story as hard as it is. And who, they're a professional editor, and for them to go, you will bring this character back, or you will not have me as an editor.
She gave a lot of really good reasons, though. Like, there was a lot
and if anybody knows the story as well as you, it is that editor.
Yeah, but I let that person live. The story's not out yet, and I really hope to bring it to life one day. And I'm keeping under wraps until we are a bit further along. But
Yeah.
oh man, and that's why I love the character journeys, the character stories. I rise, I fall, I rise, I fall again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's how she's changed. Fundamentally, I don't think she's changed all that much because she, like in Transhuman, Rivka is still always going to be that same person. It's the acceptance of different things, and like in the first book, she's going through a divorce. In book 4, she gets back. Her ex-husband comes back in her life, and it's that story that wraps a bit of it on the story. I don't want to give too much away, but
no,
she's messed up again. It's like she thought she ended that one part of her life, and the worst part about all that is the husband. And I hate this thing. He's a really good guy. He is like, she didn't do anything wrong. And I have to feel the blame is all on her this time, and so it's. And in the beginning of Volume 4, it's not like even he wants to. He doesn't want to rekindle anything, but he just wants to have the chat to close things off.
Yeah,
and there are that emotional moments in the story. So I love this. I love to tell these stories, and like I said, there's amazing action set pieces as well. So I love the almost the Days of Our Lives, the X-Men, the Chris Cameron X-Men, where it's not just sure you fight the Sentinels, sure you did this, but
but there's an actual underlying story being told underneath all that.
Yep, and I love it.
Those are some of my favorite books. It's action packed. Yeah, you're having fun reading it, but when you start stripping that stuff away, there's a really good story in there as well that you should be paying attention to.
Exactly. So I don't know if it leads to the next segue because, like I mentioned,
actually, we're ready to talk about some of the art of. So you're working with Razz. I'm going to pronounce his name. Try to Tsolmon.
Yep, that's correct.
Holy shit!
So
see, you threw a T in there when you didn't need the T.
I know, it's like night.
But exactly. So you worked with him on multiple volumes of this now. Like, how has that creative relationship evolved as y'all spent more time together with Rivka in this world of Transhuman?
The one thing I love about working with artists after a while is, and this is the lazy part of me, the first few scripts are huge. Like, you know, this shot and this and this and this and this, and like one panel has about that much like a paragraph of text. Nowadays it's like, she throws a punch, make it epic. Let's
go.
I love that. Or Rivka sad, she's crying, give her some wine. I love that when you reach that point with an artist that they are so invested in the characters as well that you no longer have to write that paragraphs and paragraphs of scene setup, panel setup.
Yeah, you could just do like that 1 to 2 sentence, like, "Hey, here is this," and just this call happens. It.
Exactly. And so I've been lucky that I've been working with it for volume 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 actually has been the artwork is in progress for number 5 as well.
Oh wow! Yeah,
and I've been so lucky that when working with him, the work is so much easier for me because I can actually now focus on telling the story and he can focus on what he does best. And there's so many times he's come back with, that's not the layout. It's so much better than I would have done it. It's like,
so are y'all at a point where you're finishing each other's sandwiches now?
Baby, I absolutely love it. Like I would send him like when I send him the script, he'll come back with the layouts and he'll go, this doesn't make sense. I did this. This doesn't make sense. I did this. And
I think that's a level of comfort and you want to be with your artists. And I've talked to many of writers and stuff who are at that point with their artists where they can just send the script. They don't need to storyboard. They don't need to do none of that. They just send like the words and basically go, "Hey, here you go." And then it comes back better than they would have ever, had fully done it at.
And I'm at that point with him that he's such a fantastic guy, and it's reached a point where it's so easy to work with certain people. And yeah, look, and again, like I said, I know you're going your own journey as well. I hope you find somebody who wants to get invested in it. It becomes
so he actually is.
A partner really rather is than
like when we were going back and forth on the second book I was telling you about. I'm not going to throw the name out there, but he's like, hey, we have this one spot that's missing in this story, and I think it needs this. And I was like, well, what are you thinking, man? Like, what do you think? He's like, it should be this. And I was like, dude, I didn't even think about that one. Like, that's yes. That's, dude, absolutely. And it's kind of like this weird, the character is its own plot twist. I'll put it like that. Like, how can you be both the good guy and the bad guy at the same time and be the same person? So I will leave it at that, but it's going to be a really cool twist within the story.
Yep. And I always like to shout out colorists as well. So I've actually worked with two colorists on this. And colorists is and I've always said this, the one thing that's probably keeping a lot of, and I'll use this, American style comics have a very different coloring scheme. Let's say to European comics, like the Tintins, and there's a lot of the bigger Mobius and stuff like that. They're actually much more watercolor, much more softer palette. America has much more the brighter palettes and things like that. So with coloring as well, it's the one part of comics that the Japanese side hasn't done yet. So Japanese have a lot of manga, and they tend to churn stuff a lot faster, bigger stories, faster
because it's
stories.
all black and grayscale.
Exactly. But there is something really magical about color. So like I've worked with two colors. One is Chiara. She has actually worked on Image Comics before. She's worked for Scholastic. And there's another guy called Wilson. He's worked for IPI. He's worked for Comics to Movies. He's worked for all these different publishers. And with the colorists, it's a lot of times, and if you're ever writing scripts, one of the things you always tell colorists is what time of day it is, which a lot of scripts do not put
Never
in.
Do.
And my colorists have been yelling and screaming at me so much that I make it a really point to go, okay, I'm going to put the time of the day in. It helps with the shadows and all the rest of it.
It really does. It goes into the psychology of the colors, right? We were talking about that literally before we went live, and how when I had Frankie Walk on of Pigment Studio, he broke down the psychology of how he does colors on books, and like how like certain colors like reds and yellows and oranges, that's like fast paced, right? You're expecting action and stuff like that.
Blues are softer, more.
Greens and yellows would be like fast. That's why when you see this, like the Flash in a comic book, his suit is red and yellow. Why is it red and yellow? Because it's a fast color.
Yep.
It's what we associate with going fast.
Correct. I'm going to ask you to share my screen because there's a last part. I'm actually the letterer for my own work, and I actually letter professionally as well. So if you ever get bored,
that's where we're getting to actually. So we were going to talk a little bit about libraries and NDC recognition, but you've already brought that up. You've already brought it up. So I mean, you brought up that you're in 500 plus libraries around the world. Yeah. You've been recognized by the Australian library.
Canada has a lot of my books as well. The Canadians like me for some reason.
Hey, what's not to like about you, man? What's they're great people, man. They're great people. But yeah, you've already kind of covered it. So we can go ahead and talk about lettering. I know you were really excited to talk about lettering. And I said, hey, no, we can't mess up the flow. But now we're there, man. SK, we're there. Let's talk about lettering. I'll bring it up right now. So here we go.
I'll tell you the two fundamental rules of lettering, and then basically I'm going to tell you the rules. I'm going to break them all. So the first rule of lettering basically is
there are no rules.
Fight Club. We can't talk about Fight Club. But the first one, there's two rules of lettering. Is basically number one, you move from left to right, top to bottom. Why you do that is because that's how you read. So your eyes naturally go read across the page, down, 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 because that's how you've been taught to read. The second rule, and this is much more comic-based rule rather than lettering rule, is one action per panel. Because you can't tell the artist, oh, I want in one panel for you to draw him punching and kicking and kicking. You can't. One panel is the punch, the second panel will be the kick. So you don't do two actions per panel. But what lettering does is it actually lets you break the one action per panel rule. And I'll show you the example here. So I don't know if you can see the screen. I'm hoping everybody can see the screen.
Yeah, it's being shared. They can see it.
Yeah, you see the guy talking. So he's talking, and halfway through the sentence, you can see him with the way the art goes. He wipes his mouth and then continues talking. So in this one panel, there is more than one action happening. Again, standard comic rules, one action per panel. The lettering or the dialogue, the break of the dialogue, shows that he's doing more than one action. He talks, wipes his mouth, and then continues. So,
and that's recognized by the ellipses, right?
Yep, by the ellipses. And more importantly, it's actually recognized by how the art breaks. That's actually like, you can see how the guy in the middle, he breaks the panel to two parts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one panel, but there are two actions. So he talks, wipes his mouth, and then continues talking. So there's three actions here on one panel. So I've broken the one action per panel rule. The other thing, and I'll show you another example of it. And so here we go. Is this one. And I'll give you a couple of standard comic rules. A double dash. Ellipsis means there's a pause. So, you take a breath. Mm-hmm. A double dash means you've been interrupted. So you're still talking and somebody just interrupts you halfway. So in this one, you can kind of see here, she's talking, the lady on the left, and the lady on the right's just about to talk. So it was cold, like dot // She's being interrupted. And then the hug comes in. So there's actually two actions here. They're talking, and she goes in for the hug. Now, the action only shows one part happening, the hug itself, but because of how the dialogue is structured and how I have fun manipulating the words, it actually shows more than one action happening in the same panel. Your brain actually registers it as they're talking, she's the lady on the right talking, and she gets stopped halfway with the hug. So lettering allows you to actually set different pacing and actually put in more things that are happening in the one panel than there should be. So it's a real, and just on that top left, bottom right rule, and so if you give it any comic page, and I'll give you a couple of the comics have, they are not just a storyboard. There's actually different parts of a comic that's actually more powerful. Like you're talking about, the top left of a comic page is more important. It's the most important part of the page because that's where the reader's eyes get drawn to first. Mm-hmm. Top left of the page is where you start. And the second most important part of the page is the bottom right because that's where the eyes drift off. So if you were doing a murder mystery and you wanted to hide the murder weapon in plain sight, put it into the bottom left and you would find a lot of people would just miss it. So if you're a smart writer, colorist, artist, and you want to do certain things that you want it in plain sight that people don't pick up until after the fact, bottom left, top right, people will just miss it. Absolutely miss it. I always like to, when I'm lettering, I'll talk to different people and say, hey, I could drop a clue here for you to your next part of the story if you want me to. And so many times they'll just go, yeah, that would be awesome. I say, and I guarantee you, if you let your editor read it, they'll miss it. They'll totally miss it. And 9 times out of 10, it gets totally missed. And the other thing which I don't know if you've heard the concept of, and this is very much also the letterer actually can help with this. You've heard the concept of the page turn, haven't you?
Yeah.
So every odd page is worth more than every even page because an odd page, bottom panel of the odd page, you want to convince them to turn the page. So if they've turned the page right, so they can see the page spread. So they can see page 2 and 3 once you turn the page. Page 2, exposition, knock yourself out. Who cares? Page 3, you have to have something at the bottom panel that makes it important. Why that's really simple to fix? Ask a question in the bottom panel that doesn't get answered to the next page. Convince them to flip the page. Have something they said that's not complete. So when you're doing dialogue or lettering or stuff like that, always have something that's not finished. The ellipses or all the tricks, so that you convince them to turn the page. And that's really unique to the comic medium. It's like a mini cliffhanger on every single page.
Yeah.
So
it's so cool. And it's what makes you love it, man. Like, honestly, that's just one of those things that just, it's a special, unique thing only comics can get away with.
100%. So the other thing I absolutely love is when I can make my lettering part of the art. So I become an artist as part of it. So you can kind of see here, this machine is analyzing this gold sample that's there. You can see the special effects. I make that very, very bright, very bold, so that you can kind of see it's a bzzz, the sound when it's doing the analysis. But on the screen, on the right, it's part of the art. I blended it all in, I've blurred it, I've adjusted it so that it's not, the artist didn't do any of that. That's all me. And I love to be able to do things like that where because the special effects are nice and big and bold, you'll draw yourself to this. But because this is part of the story, it looks like as though it's really just part of the art. It doesn't look like it's anything that's different. The Z is different, and that the reason for it is you want the special effects to pop. But the screen, oh gosh, did the artist do it? Did the letterer do it? Who cares? It's done, and I love it that I could do stuff like that to really just blend in with it. And it's all readable. You find out like how much gold is in there and all the rest of it, but it's part of the story. So another example would be something like the other example that's really cool as why I love lettering is able to draw the reader's eyes. The other rule about lettering is bubbles float to the top. So where possible, bubbles have to go above somebody's head. That's one of the rules. So that what could easily go to the right of this bald guy's head. Very easily. There's more than enough space for you to put it in there.
Yeah.
The reason I put it down at the bottom, which again is breaking one of those rules, is you want to draw, and I put the red arrow to make it very clear, you want to draw the reader's eye from what he's saying into where his hands cut off. And it's like, it just, your eyes hyper focus into that red part where his bloody hand is to go, he did this to me. You scroll down and then you see that red bloody hand. Now, if that what had been up the top, the reader would probably just read at the top and then move across.
And then down.
Correct. And so I'll show you, this is actually from Transhuman. I'll show you a really complex example of it. This is a really complex example. And you can imagine the original artwork for this page is actually very empty.
Yeah.
But where this one leads there, and this is, again, with comic things, this is actually one of the really, really cool examples of an establishing panel. And I know I'm getting technical, but this is one of the
I love this kind of stuff. Because for me, my eye is starting at the top left. It's going straight down over.
Correct. It moves across so that you go down to where Rivka is to the left-hand side. And, oh, hey, I hope you're enjoying this. There always are rules. Goes across to the other characters. Look, there's a couple of great things with an establishing shot. And this is where, to be fair, my artist probably hates me for this page because I said, establish shot, put a lot of detail in there. He's going, do I draw the buildings? Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so the other thing with a really good establishing shot is everybody, every character, there's 5 characters on the screen, all of them gets named. So you actually get the name of every single character from this establishing shot. You understand exactly where this is actually the first panel of Transhuman Volume 4. You know where they are, you know all their names, and you need to figure out what's happening just from one panel. So you can kind of see here that Maxim and Mikhail, these 2 guys, are your arms dealers. You see that they say you're the arms dealers. Then it scrolls down to Rivka, whose information has been sent. Have you received it? She goes, ack, she's acknowledging she's received it. And so then you notice that it goes, happy hunting, Rivka. So her name also gets dropped. So you know who she is. And then it goes across where you go blah, 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 following the trail of lettering as well. And then they're having a silly conversation here about Jacob's new boots. I mean, it's always
in the meantime, you got the guys behind them actually shooting at them as they're having this like friendly conversation.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've been around a lot of stuff being shot and just gunfire and stuff like that. When you could just have a conversation like, hey, what do you want for lunch later? Oh, they just stopped. You jump up, go back down.
Exactly. And so with this, as a really good establishing panel, you know exactly what happens and you know everybody's name. So if you were just jumping in the Transhuman for the first panel you see, everybody's name, everybody's name on that page already. It's actually really funny when you're lettering. And I've actually picked this up to a lot of writers and creators is in the script that you write, say, this is the chairman, this is Bob, James, whatever, you put all this. But when you talk normally, you don't actually always say somebody's name. So I've been through entire scripts where the protagonist's names never gets mentioned. The entire, you let the whole thing goes. And I always say to them, look, it may seem a little bit unnatural in talking, but you have to put it in. Why do you think they always go, who is he? Bond, James Bond. Who's he?
Yeah.
John Wick, the Baba Yaga. Yeah, they keep repeating names because there's an unwritten rule that you actually need to say the
it's
main
a psychological thing.
Yep, you have to say the main character's name in the book, in the book or the not the book, in the comic or in the movie. You have to say it at least 6 times for the audience to actually click the name in. That's so
especially if you're introducing like it's a issue 1 of a book. And how else are you going to establish those characters?
Exactly. So in this, I've done it once already. I need to do it 5 more times, and it sounds a bit unnatural when you go, "Oh, hello, Rivka," like, "Oh, hello, Chairman." It seems unnatural, but you actually have to put that into your script because it's part of the comic that it has to be included as part of it. And this is the one fun one I always love to show. So when I got sent the script for this, just give you a heads up, when I got sent the script for this in each of the panels, there's no paragraphs. It was blobs of text. Text.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So when the writer did this, it was just blobs of text. So as a letterer, you got 2 choices. And it depends. It depends on the creator, the publisher, whatever. Is you say to them, look, how much freedom are you going to give me? If you tell me to do as I'm told, I will do as I'm told. I will put it in one giant word balloon blob straight in the middle there. That's what you want me to do. Or if you trust me and you make me part of the process, I will actually make this readable for you. And 99% of the time, it's like, that's why we hire you. You have a say in what to do. So you can kind of see here, go panel by panel. It's that left, right, top, bottom thing. So you can kind of see here, it goes left, right. And it's so much fun for me to pick out key elements of the dialogue to show off. Like if you look in, say, this one actually was I have to say, I'll zoom in a little bit because the dialogue for this, and the guy who wrote this dialogue, I think it's a really sharp dialogue. I love it. So the idea behind it is it's about a suicidal vampire. So he wants to die, but he doesn't know how to kill himself. He's hurt so many people, he's lived so much life, and he wants to end himself, but he doesn't know how to.
Can we pause real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So I just had to ban somebody. People, when you jump into comments and you immediately start saying negative things, you're going to get banned. Please don't do that. All right. SK, back to you, man.
No stress. And you can kind of see here, it's that left, right thing as it goes through. And what you do is you pick out, because I'm a writer as well, you pick out the key things. Enough killing, enough stalking. Every bubble becomes a different emphasis as it comes through.
Mm-hmm.
So this is I've said this to the writer, this particular writer. This is really crisp dialogue. You actually did a really, really good job of the dialogue. I need to do my absolute best to really enhance it. So if you just pick up key speech bubbles, you can go, oh gosh, what's happening? And it also gets that flow really nice, really smooth that it goes through, that it's really easy to read. And it's a lot of text. It's a very heavy, and I understand it, but it makes it into a way that it's very easy to digest. And that's what I absolutely love about this is the art of lettering, not just the technical thing of put the words and put a bubble around it. It's being able to read it and actually analyze it and actually make it elevated. So the guy who reads it will go, "Oh my god, it's readable," and it's such good, and it's fantastic, and I love it. So for me, that's why I always say, like, a decent letterer will just put the words on the page for you. A good letterer makes it into a story, and so I say, one of the jokes I always have with a lot of people, once you know a lot of these things, the sad thing about it is oh, thank you. One of the absolute sad things about this is I can't read comics properly the same way anymore.
Yeah, we were just talking about that before we went live. A 22 to 26 page comic book for me is literally a 45 to 90 minute affair to get through, because I understand color theory now. I understand lettering. I understand how to look around the comic page for things that are hidden, those Easter eggs and that kind of stuff. So I may read through it once, like at a normal pace, but then I flip it back. I go, okay, now it's time to actually study and learn and dig through and see what I can find.
But for me, it also breaks my heart a bit, because sometimes and it breaks my heart in
a good way.
It breaks my heart, and actually sometimes it uplifts me as well, because sometimes when I read really good lettering and I hyper focus, I don't know, I hyper focus, you go, oh my god, that was done so well, or oh my god, I didn't think about the way they did certain things, and in my head I'm like, gotta lock that away, gotta learn it. But the reverse is sometimes when there's bad lettering and your heart breaks. It's like
that big center text box.
Oh, I've seen people use the bubble and they cover someone's head, and it's like, no,
like half the action is missing.
I know, and it breaks my heart. And you're just like, no, don't do that.
And they don't have bubbles. That's another one I've been noticing. Is like there's no bubbles; it's just the words on the page, and then you're like, oh, there it is.
There are times where actually that's actually not
it can
too
work.
bad.
It can really work, especially on a heavy action sequence, right? Or there's like fires and there's like a gunfight. That's really cool. I like seeing like when it's a gunfight or an explosion, and like the explosion itself is kind of like that word box, right, for text.
I will show you something that's. Give me an example. Let me see if I can find it. Yep, here it is. So I'll just drag this here. I'll skip through. So I'll show you my sample portfolio. This is the ones I use as a sample. And I'll just show it to you super quick. Let me share it again. Here we go. So this is my sample one. So guys, if you're ever looking for work, always make sure you have a small portfolio. It makes a world of difference, especially in the comic world, because portfolios will show people in 10 seconds what
so yeah, there is like his camera has a glitch every like few minutes for some reason.
Oh, I do apologize.
You're good. It's not affecting anything. It's just like every now and then it's like a weird like little glitch that comes across your screen.
So this is examples of, say, dialogue, and I like to show you heavy dialogue pages. So you can kind of see here with heavy dialogue, getting it to all fit in, and without covering anything, and still keeping the correct reading order. Mm-hmm. So like heavy dialogue, like where the dialogue leads you to the character, all this is heavy dialogue pages, and like dialogue where it bounces left, right, back and forth.
Yeah, that's some of my favorite ones.
Like it's the other ones which, and this is the example I want to show you, is this is where it becomes part of the artwork. But what you were saying before about not using
perfect.
bubbles.
Yeah, this is perfect right here.
So in this one particular story it's a ghostly voice. And I'll just zoom out a little bit. You kind of see here, it's like he's hearing things. They're exploring this dark, superstitious place. And these soldiers, they are hearing things in their heads going, do it, give it, And I could do this in bubbles, but it wouldn't have any of the same impact.
And no, so this is one of those times where it's like a ghostly voice in the background, and I love this kind of setup.
Yep.
And
but I have to say, from a lettering point of view, oh my God, it's so much more work because every letter is individually put in because you can't have it like straight.
Yeah.
Which is the easier thing to do. You just draw lines and you put the letters nice and straight lines because it's a ghostly voice. Of course, it's going to be messed up. And so you can kind of see here. I'll show you this little trick as well. And I love this that way it came out. Look at this panel, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about, say, this panel here is the guy in the middle is your panel break. He's your natural panel break.
Yeah, so that's actually really cool.
So by having the words left and right of him, you know which order to read it in because you read the left-hand side first. There's a guy in the middle with the black space above him that breaks the panel for you, and then the guy on the right. So this is the case where I was saying before where they actually forgot to put the guy's name in. So what I did in this particular panel is I had a bit of fun. I made sure to include the guy's name twice because like I told you, my object is 6. Your name gets told 6 times in the comic. I just did it twice in here, so Ambrose gets mentioned twice. So it's the trick. Like I shoved his name in twice. I got to find 4 more spots to put the guy's name in.
And there's Rook there too. Don't forget about Rook. He's there.
Yeah. So for example, but this is actually one of the cool things you can do. The other things you can then do is like you can kind of see here is by putting the dialogue behind the bubble, you kind of make it like it's coming behind him and it's like it's coming all over them. And so, so I love it. Like you can kind of tell, like, oh, I'll jump up from there. It's absolutely what I love comics.
Mm-hmm.
Is you can use lettering to really enhance the comic, enhance the story. So for me, it's amazing.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is why he is a Ringo nominee.
No, it's something I really enjoy. So for me, and there's a whole art to it. Like if you do it properly, it gets the story to be a lot more enhanced. So
in that 20 minutes, and I've talked to other letterers and I've had great conversations with letterers, but in the 20 minutes that you just did that, my brain is now like it's messed up even more. I was telling you before, like my brain in reading comics is really messed up because I have to break it down. And it's a good thing. It's like it's never a negative thing, but I now psychoanalyze a comic and I look for things like this. And, and like you just gave me another 20-minute crash course in lettering and I fucking love that. Like I love, if I'm not learning at the same time I'm getting to, do this and to tell your story, then what the hell am I doing? And I love the learning. Trust me, like learning about this stuff makes it 10 times more enjoyable for me because I know what I get to do with this later. Remember how I was telling you before we went live, I have something called a chairman's cut. That I will cut out that whole section about lettering. It will then go to become a chairman's cut. And hopefully somebody else can go, hey, I wonder about comic book lettering. They hopefully find that chairman's cut of us discussing the comic book lettering, and then they get a 20-minute crash course in comic book lettering.
I hope they do. And so for me, it's why I really enjoy it. And the thing is, it's for me, when I first started, it was more practicality. It's like I just something I want to learn and it's something I was interested in. But once you deep dive into it, it's something I love now. So
and the psychological things that you can do with it, and how you can guide eyes around the screen and just make them follow with what you wrote. That's, to me, is the coolest thing.
I know. Look, and so it's probably a good place for me. But look, thank you so much. I had so much fun explaining all of these things to you. And thank you so much for having me on. And thank you so much for also letting me talk about Transhuman.
No, we got some more to talk about. Are you ready to bounce? Yeah, we're going to talk about crowdfunding this book, man. The Kickstarter is close, right?
Oh, it's going to open in whatchamacallit. It's going to it's still in pre-launch.
Yeah, it's in pre-launch right now.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about the crowdfunding, bud.
Give me 1 sec. I thought we were wrapping up. Give me
I just let you have your way with lettering because.
Oh, thank you. Give me a sec. I will move. I'll send a message out. I'll move a couple of things around, and I should.
Yeah, we only have about 15 more minutes. You know,
we can move. Yep. All to you.
So you've successfully crowdfunded Transhuman before, and now we're asking readers to come back for Volume 4. Which, by the way, that link is down in the description of this video that you're watching right now. What has been your biggest lesson crowdfunding has taught you about earning and maintaining the trust of your readers? Because you don't get to Volume 4 of a book through crowdfunding without having a good reputation, having a good respect for those people who back your books.
Oh, look, the main thing with it is updates and being accessible. So for me, it's a whole case of, hey, it's whatchamacallit. Are you keeping people up to date? Yeah. And more importantly, not just keeping people up to date, are you
regular
fulfilling updates, what you're saying? Like, it's not just about keeping up to date. It's also, hey, if you say you're going to do A, are you actually doing A? And so for me, it's been important that you also maintain that you basically you keep your word on stuff. If you say, hey, look, I'm packing it and should be packed within the week, you finish packing within that week. If you're going to tell them it's going to take 2 weeks, you take 2 weeks. You know what I mean? But you can't be a case of, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow, and then you don't do it for the next 6 months. You need to be able to maintain what's happening, and you need to be able to maintain what you say you're going to do. So it's just basic. It sounds really silly, but it's just keeping your word. It's like saying, if you're going to do something, you're going to promise something, deliver on it. And
if you're not, make that update.
Correct.
And that's literally the moment you update Kickstarter blasts that message out to everybody following it, in all your backers. So that's always my biggest thing is I love to get those updates 2 times a week, 3 times a week, just something that says, hey, today I caught a snag at the printer. It's okay. We're still on track. That's update. That's perfect. That tells me there's going to be a delay in shipping, right?
And that's all you need to do. It's just a case of saying, hey, when you say something, be a man of your word, commit to it, make sure it happens, and that's it. And the whole point of it is I have to admit, I've been delayed before, but it's a case of under promise and then over deliver. Like, and the other thing would be is
that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, put risk into it. Like, for example, if you think you're going to take a week, say you're going to say, look, 2 weeks just in case something happens, and then if you deliver within the week, happy days. If you take them 2 weeks,
you're excited,
also happy days
because they got it a week early.
Exactly. The one thing would be is don't say you're going to do it tomorrow when you're not going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So, but the main thing would be is it's commitment. And the one thing which I would say, and this is the 2 school of thoughts on crowdfunding, and you can go either way. One of them is, hey, look, I need the money to pay the artist and pay the production team or whatever. So I will front up for the first 5 pages to show you my concept and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I'll crowdfund, and the rest of the money will be to build the book. That's one way to do it. The other way is the guy is 90% complete, and you're going to get your comics relatively soon after it's finished because it's more or less done. Both approaches, I think, are absolutely valid, absolutely fine, but you have to be upfront with which approach you're taking.
Yeah, and that should be in that pre-launch page. That should be on the front page of your Kickstarter. As a matter of fact, if you know you're using this Kickstarter to fund that whole book, that very first paragraph says, hey, FYI, what we earn from this, if this Kickstarter is successful, this money goes to pay the artist, the letterer, the colorer, and that's how this book is going to get made.
Correct.
Put that up front before you ever put the description of what this book is in there. That way people know.
Yep.
It erases any doubt.
Correct. And it also, if you put it into your when the date's coming out, because Kickstarter actually has a release date.
Well, yeah, you have to, yeah.
Yeah. So the main thing is I think that's where a lot of people get caught, is they don't tell you, in most cases, which way it's done. Now, you can infer most of it, to be really fair. And in most sections at the bottom, people say this project's almost completed. They will write it in. But a lot of people don't write it in. And so you might, hypothetically, let's say you're the first category. You've upfronted 5 pages and you're basically crowdfunding to get the money to do the other 20 pages. That project's going to take a lot longer, because when you get the money, the artist still has to produce the final 20 pages, colorists need to do that, printing, all the happy fun stuff needs to happen. That's a longer project. And if people know it's a longer project, it's not the end of the world, but they know. But if they're expecting the project to be 90% complete and they're just funding the printing, which some creators do as well, they're going to get really annoyed when you're going, where's it? And you're going, we're still making it. And the whole point would be it's that communication. And if you tell them
up front,
problem goes away, problem solved. No, there's no issue, because the problem all goes away, because guess what? Oh yeah, you're still making it. You're getting about a page, 2-3 pages a week, 20 pages. Will be done in 2 months. Happy days.
Lucky, unless something comes up with the artist, right?
Correct. So that's how you maintain that, and that's how. And to be fair, I've actually done it in both situations. There's situations where I had it 90% funded. I mean, at 90% created, and the crowdfund was just to get the book out and get people to see it. And I've also had the other situation where, hey, I don't have everything finished. I'm about halfway through. The money will help me accelerate things through, because I can then pay the artist, hey, I've got the money. Let's take the month off. Here's the money. Finish off the work.
Yeah.
So it'll allow, but in both cases, as long as you're upfront about it. In the case of Transhuman, though, it is 90%. It's the 90% done one. It's artwork's all done. We're all ready to go. It's all been colored. The holdups on me lettering, to be fair, it's on my day, but that doesn't take that's the fastest part of the equation.
Yeah.
And we should be able to get through it. I put a long time frame in there, but it's not going to take that long. We're going to get it to you much, 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 much quicker.
So what do you think keeps people coming back to Transhuman? I mean, this is your fourth Kickstarter to sell it in doing this book. What do you think they keep coming back for?
I hope it's the story. I hope like I mentioned with the editor stuff, I hope people just love the character as much as I love the character. And it's one of those things, if you enjoy the character, you enjoy what's happening, it's one of those things where you go, I want to read more. I want to see more of what happens. And for me, I think that's absolutely key. Like, if the characters are beloved, you know what? It's easier to tell that story. And that's all I hope for. That's really all I hope for, that they love the story.
So the Kickstarter is in pre-launch right now. It is. When did you say when it was launching?
It's on this Sunday. Sunday.
So I knew we were close.
So this Sunday at 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. So probably be your Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm going to run it for about 30 days.
Like Saturday night, I think.
Saturday night. And it will just run through. And look, the other thing is, it's always nerve-wracking to hit that go live button.
It really is. I've never heard a person say, "Oh yeah, it's great when you hit that go page." I'm like, you're fucking lying.
No, exactly.
It's nerve-wracking, because now the work has to really start. The marketing, the social media stuff has to start going. all this stuff has to go into this. Like your next 30 days revolves around Transhuman Volume 4.
I know, and it's scary. And that's the
can you walk us through the campaign real quick and what are you offering and
of course,
what's going to be different with this one?
It's in pre-launch now. So what I'm happy to do is I'm happy to show you the.
I can bring it up for you. Hang on.
No, because it's in pre-launch, so I can show you.
Okay.
I can give you the exclusive scoop, the behind the scenes.
Perfect. That's what I'm talking about. That's what's up.
So let me get this logged in. Give me a sec.
So I always like it when the creator sends me the pre-launch. That way I can get what I want early. That's my favorite ones.
Okay, so give me a sec. I just got.
But while you're bringing that up, can you kind of beyond simply reaching the funding goal of the book, what would you like to look back at this campaign and say Transhuman Volume 4 was a success? Like, what would made you look back and just go, hey, yeah, this was it. This was the money.
There's only one metric that's ever important to me of any campaign I've ever run. And to be fair, the money is always good. So I won't lie about that. The money is great.
We're not going to lie to nobody. The money is always great when it's funded.
Backer number. So as long as the backer number goes up, project to project, that's the one that makes me happy because we do. I mean, I use the royal we because of other creators.
I do the same thing.
We do this madness because we want to be read. We want to tell stories. And for me, it's so important to be able to tell a story. If more people are reading it than before, that's what makes me happy. And so my success really is, I think the last campaign I had 690 something backers. I don't quote me.
That's amazing though.
So for me, what would make me happy is hitting that 700 backer mark. So my true goal with any campaign, and I haven't reached it yet, is to hit 1,000 plus backers.
Yeah. Do you know how many pre-launch followers you have right now?
720 something.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
So, but for me, it's that 1,000 backers, and
you'll get there, dude. 100%. It's gonna happen.
So for me, and what I always do is, and just for the campaign things, is although it's volume 4, I include the digital of volume 1, 2, and 3 in almost every single reward tier.
Oh, so they're going to get the whole story.
Exactly. So if you jump in if you buy a physical of volume 4, you get the digital of 1, 2, and 3. So you can get, if you want a physical copy, you can still read up and get to exactly where you need to be.
That's really cool.
And the other thing would be is if you want physical copies of it, it's all available as add-ons as well and on selected reward tiers.
Yeah.
So if you're absolutely new to it, don't stress because you can come straight onto it. Now, if you're absolutely first time in Transhuman, if this is your first rodeo, you can just pick up the digital for 4. That's what you want. But beyond that point, every reward tier will include all previous copies of the digital. So digital is really easy for you to catch up, to go, hey, I want to catch up. I want to get to where I need to be. Boom. You've got digital for all of it. You want the physical copies, also all available. And if you've been following along the journey, pick up what you want. Pick up what you need to. So in terms of the covers, look, that's I've been really lucky to work with Michael Schauffer. He does Superman and X-Men Domino. So he did a lot of the covers. Abri, I've always worked with, and I love. It's always a bit of fun. This is a foil cover, so it's actually.
So the foil is actually what I use to make the thumbnail.
Oh, cool! So
I took that and I just stripped the background off of it, the foil off of it, and just used her character because I thought it was really cool. And then I found the cybernetic background, and I just popped it on and just took the logo, and then done it, and just kind of it looks almost like it's just one thing until you get to her, and then she just that pop on the thumbnail.
Oh, cool! I've seen that one. It looks really. I've seen that the thumbnail for this image. It
Yeah.
looks really cool.
Dude, that's been my Achilles heel, and I'm finally finding a good groove with thumbnails and kind of just doing my own unique thing with them.
Yeah. So for me, it's like I love the covers. The other thing with all the variant covers as well is, and I'm one of the things that with variant covers, I want to give something back in terms of a variant cover that isn't available. So with the
Mhm.
variant cover, there's actually more story pages.
Oh,
So
that's really cool.
I
It's always
always
worth
do
spending that extra $4 or $5 to get that
exactly.
variant cover, to get that
So
extra pages of story.
if you like the cover as it is, get the main cover. That's absolutely fine. You get the story doesn't
Hmm.
change too much, but the variant gives you about 10 extra story pages, so you can actually go, oh, wow, because I love dialogue. I love it, people.
You're a letterer, man. Of course you do.
So for me, having the extra pages, it actually lets you go a deeper dive into more
Hmm.
characters. They can actually say a lot more things. But if you're ever in making a film, movie, and all the rest of it, you want the dialogue to be nice and concise. If you get the variant, you're saying you want the director's cut. So you get a little bit
Yeah,
more of that. Um, that's the variant. This is the first panel, and we've
yeah.
discussed
You just showed
this,
us. Yeah.
the establishing panel, where you get to know everybody's names. They're on a early mission. It's they're all like I said, there's a lot of really good action sequence. There's also a lot of really soft, happy scenes as well. So I actually do make it
Mhm.
a point. Then you have all the different rewards. The other thing would be is in terms of digital as well. I always make it a
I love that
point that
Immortal Coil cover.
yeah, this is by Gerald. He does amazing work.
I like those
I
types of covers. Those, it's like two color covers, and they just the black and the red.
they
There's a
pop.
few artists that do those types of covers, and they just pop so good.
I know. The other thing would be is when you do uh, digital packs is people just go it's why am I forking out X number of dollars for one PDF? I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah,
you get multiple.
totally agree with you. You'll get 1,000 cuts. You'll get Immortal Coil, and guess what? Before the end of it, I sound like a used car salesman now. You'll
I
get
love it. Keep going. I love this
you'll
sales
get
pitch.
you'll get I will promise you, like by the end of the campaign, if I'm successfully funded, you'll have more than 300 pages of digital reading. I
Like, that's
promise you by the
legit.
end of it, because we'll just keep adding more and more digital
Yeah,
comics.
the more add-ons, right?
Exactly. We'll just keep throwing more stuff in, and the more stuff I find, the more stuff I throw in, and um, other stuff that's available is you get the four covers you can choose from. Every physical reward here gets this really cool card. It's trading card size. Everybody will get that. They are a really cool print. If you like original artwork, you get uh, detailed original artwork. This is my favorite one, and I really hope there's a couple of people who do get this. I'll stop on this one because I love to be able to give a custom cover. So by the end of the campaign, I'll ask for you to send a photo through, and I'll put you on a cover, a custom cover, and the print run for that will be however many people buy the book. I mean, buy
Mhm.
that particular award,
Yeah.
and one copy for myself. And I don't know if you know, with printing, there's always if something gets damaged, extra. But the
Mhm.
print run will be psychotically low. You're talking, if say 5 people back this tier, I will have 7 copies. That's about how it goes.
Yeah.
And this one was a lot of fun because you can see that person to the right. She got drawn in, and that person to the left got drawn in, and it's just a lot of fun. And you get
It's
this
really cool, and I love unique things that people do for
it's a really
Kickstarters. Like, people
collectible.
like have that you get to be killed in a comic book. You get to be the governor for a day.
And that's the one thing that Kickstarter gives you, because Kickstarter actually lets you do certain things that if you would just putting the book out to a bookstore or comic book store, they don't get that fun. Let me. And in terms of the add-ons, like I mentioned, you can pick up Volume 1. Volume 1 is still available. You can kind of see it. And as well as you got all the Volume 2s, still available. And again, same thing. Volume 2 and 3 is the variants contain extra pages. Same thing with all the variants for Volume 3. And here's our happy team who's working on it. And currently, we put the stretch goal at 600 backers and at 25,000 Australian dollars. What I'm really hoping for is, look, to be fair, that backer number is the one I want to break. We can get to 700.
I think you can do it.
Happy days, like 700 is
I really do. I really think you can get it on this one. And I know you're kind of getting short on time as well. But what's next, man? You spent a decade creating independent comics, and what's something about this business you've had to learn like the hard way, and you wish somebody had told you when you were making 2015? But what's next, man? What?
Look, my biggest regret out of everything, and it's something I really hope I can impart on anybody who's listening, is don't procrastinate. Don't wait the 10 years to get started on stuff. That's probably my absolute biggest regret, that if I had started this journey 10 years ago, I would be in such a better place than I am now.
Yeah.
Because I would be 10 years further along. But I would say for about 10 years, I was thinking, I would love to get into this. Like, I want to move from being a consumer to a creator. And it hit my head. I just wish I had started then. I just wish I had gone, you know what? Decision made. I would start putting pen to paper, putting notes, things, reading, learning, figuring out how things happen. Because it just would have been 10 years more of doing this. And that's probably the biggest regret. The regret isn't doing stuff, because learning and making mistakes and stuff like that, it's all part of the process. And you have to screw up before, like I said, your first draft is rubbish, absolute garbage. My first drafts were all the same. But you need to get through all that. And if I had started earlier, so that's why I remember talking a bit offline, is I just encourage you to, like, seriously, when should you have started? Yesterday. That's the advice I give to everybody. And what's the second best time to start? Today. When's the worst time to start? Tomorrow. That's what you need to live by. Like, and for me, being able to have this journey behind me, I've met some incredible people like yourself who have been, and again, giving up their time for me, and it's like it makes me so happy. You meet all these incredible people on the journey, and you just need to start it, really. And so, yeah, if you end with nothing else in this from this, is when should you have started? You should have started yesterday. When's the other time you should start? You should start it today. And that's the best advice I give anybody.
I love it, dude. Tell people where they can find you on social media. And yeah.
Look, I'm a bit of a boomer. I freely admit it. I'm on the wrong side of 40 already. So let's just end it at that comment.
I feel that.
So I don't know what these kids are up to with their TikTok and get off my lawn. The only social media.
Cloud is blocking my son.
Old man yells at clouds. But so for me, I do try to get to the other platforms. I have to admit, it's a learning experience for me, and I'm trying to get better at it. But if you go to Facebook, it's Sigmate, SIGMATE, Studio, STUDIO, one word. If you click on there, you should be able to find me really easily. Sigmate Studio, one word. So, and it'll be in the description below as well, hopefully. But the main thing would be is I do try to post up as much as I can. Look, I have to freely admit, I'm actually not the best at it, and I'm learning a lot about marketing as I'm going through. But if you ever want to contact me just in terms of to have a chat, to have a conversation, look, dude, just reach out. That I'm relatively easy to meet, and I don't bite. So at least I try not to too much. But definitely reach out, and I'm more than happy to have the chat with people.
Bro, I appreciate it so much, you coming on and talking to us. All the links that he just mentioned are actually down in the description, including the pre-launch page to the Kickstarter that is kicking off this Sunday, 10 a.m. Australia time. That's sometime in the afternoon, Saturday for us in the US. Make sure you hit that Kickstarter link. Go follow the pre-launch. That way you're notified at the moment it goes live. And give some love. This is volume 4 of a book. And you don't get to volume 4 of a book or a graphic novel without it being really good. So, Stephen, with that, dude, thank you so much again for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure having you on. I mean, I apologize to you for keeping you longer than I had intended.
It's all good. It's all good.
That lettering conversation, I couldn't stop you because I was learning so much. So I just let you cook with it.
That's the abridged version. I actually have a proper version where it goes on.
If you ever want to come back and give us the full version of the lettering psychology, you are more than welcome back for that.
I will show you
talk
the
about
that's hidden.
whatever you want to talk about, dude, because this was a lot of fun. But again, thank you for joining us tonight. It was great learning more about your journey through independent comics, the world and philosophy behind Transhuman, your work with Razz, and the importance of libraries, of course, and the crafting of lettering, and everything that you brought to us about Rivka's story in volume 4 of Transhuman. Honestly, we want to wish you the best of luck with Transhuman volume 4, again, kicking off this Sunday, 10 a.m. Australia time. I hope you hit that 1,000 on this one. I really do, because that would be so awesome. But to everyone watching, all the links again are included in the description. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves independent comics. And, you know, they want to know about science fiction, or they want a really good how-to on lettering. They get a good 20-minute how-to on lettering right here in the middle of this podcast. So, but ladies and gentlemen, Stephen, one more time, thank you again for joining us today. But this has been the USDN Podcast, where indie comics come to life. Ladies and gentlemen, the Council of Nerds is now adjourned. Y'all be safe out there.
It's a trap!